Sean Fennessy.
I'm Amanda Dobbins.
And this is The Big Picture, a conversation show about life and death.
And art.
And art, for sure. On today's episode, we'll discuss two new Richard Linklater films, Nouvelle Vague, which is now available on Netflix in the United States, and Blue Moon, which is expanding in theaters later this month. The former is a recreation of and homage to the making of Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless and the dawning of the French New Wave. The latter is Blue Moon, an elegiac portrait of the lyricist and musical theater legend Lorenz Hart, which stars Ethan Hawke in one of the year's great performances. Later in this episode, Amanda, I will have Richard Linklater and Ethan Hawke here for a conversation. I don't know if I could name two people that I like more or like talking to more that have been on this show before. And to have them together was very special. It was a very good conversation. They were here. They were sitting right in the seat that you were in, not on top of each other.
Okay.
There was a third chair here. Ethan Hawke was third chair on The Big Picture.
And he was in the middle?
He was right in the middle.
That's cute.
He middled. And it was honestly
I'm excited to hear it.
Quite moving.
Yeah.
They're obviously great. We'll talk about their films here as well. But before we get into the two new Linklater films, let's talk about the true beginning of the Oscar season, which started last night. The Governor's Awards were held, and there were a handful of Academy honorary awards given out, along with the Jean Hirschholt Humanitarian Award. Now, normally we would just talk about this event in passing and just cite who the people are. For years, these awards were given out on the telecast. I wish they would go back to that, but they no longer do that. This year in particular seems like it would have been a good time to do it, in part because the most famous recipient of all the recipients.
Well, Dolly Parton won the Humanitarian Award.
Yes.
She was not able to attend because she has been ill. But let's put Dolly Parton aside. Don't you dare try to compare.
Dolly Parton is a world historical icon. She's not Tom Cruise. She is not known in the same way that Tom Cruise is.
I don't think that we needed to pit them against each other like you did.
The Academy did by putting them on the same show on the same night, on a Sunday night. Debbie Allen, the great choreographer, actress, dancer, also was given an award, and Wynn Thomas as well. But Tom Cruise received an honorary Oscar last night.
Yes, so there were a lot of photos circulating last night of Tom Cruise holding an Oscar statuette and looking grateful. To this, I say, give him a real Oscar. Like, this doesn't count. As I said to you before we started recording, write a novel and give Tom Cruise a real Oscar. No half measures for me. Okay. So that's fine. It seemed like a nice party. Literally everyone who is involved with award season or who is running for an award this season was in attendance, except for Bradley Cooper.
Where was he?
He was at the Eagles game, watching the Eagles barely squeak by the Detroit Lions. I really want to know what's up with their offense, but that's a conversation for another day.
I picked the wrong year to draft Saquon Barkley on my fantasy team. I got to say, this has been actually quite challenging.
I don't actually watch the games anymore because I have to be in charge of two children, but I check the score as just a mood indicator to know what I'm walking back into. And it's just been 3-0 in the fourth quarter, like 5 times this season. It's just not really the explosive offense that we're looking for.
It's not. For more of those takes, you can turn to any of the Ringer football podcasts. There are a great many of them out there. The Tom Cruise honorary Oscar, of course, for his work in movies for the last 40 plus years. He talked about the fact that, he doesn't think of movies as something he does, but something that he is, that he is a person who makes movies.
Yes.
And he used some familiar lines that we've heard in his speech last night. He is also running. He's just running a year early.
Yeah.
The person who handed him this honorary Academy Award last night was Alejandro González Iñárritu, the filmmaker that he's just finished a film with that is coming out next summer, in fact. And many people believe that this movie will be a bid for another Academy Award to pull a Paul Newman, who famously received an honorary Academy Award before winning for Best Actor
in a film with Tom Cruise.
Yes.
Does this next summer give you any pause?
Not really.
Okay.
I think Sinners came out in April and it's doing just fine.
That's true.
I think the paradigm, you've pointed this out to me many times over the years, the paradigm has kind of shifted there.
Right, but not for an Iñárritu film.
No, but he's a unique case where, for the most part, his films have commercial viability and they also tend to draw water. Awards-wise, Bardo, that was not the case for Bardo.
I was literally trying to remember the name of the Bardo. That was a nice kitchen that they had in that apartment.
Bardo?
Yes.
Okay.
It stays with me. The tile work was beautiful.
I see. Got it. Moving on. Congratulations to Tom Cruise, I suppose. I agree. I think an honorary Oscar is a nice thing, and I do like it when it recognizes someone who's been doing great work.
Every time we talk about it, and every time they come up in the context of the show, they're about people who definitely deserved at least one real Oscar, and all they could muster was an honorary Oscar. It's an also-ran award. It's fine.
Okay. Moving on. We saw a teaser for Moana this morning.
We watched it together on this very laptop.
Yes. And it was just breathtaking. It was truly staggering. No, so next year also, in addition to this Inarritu Tom Cruise movie, one of the other big event movies of the year is a live action remake of Moana.
Mm-hmm.
Moana, in my home, rings out. It is a truly important cultural artifact. It is a film that is going to be 10 years old in 2026.
Okay.
And so that means that this live action remake, which candidly looked like it was animated, it
looked like, as you said, it looked like Avatar.
It did look like Avatar.
The island, the water, the creatures. Yeah. I mean, Avatar, The Way of Water is beautiful in its own way.
See, okay, so this is my point here. Obviously, we've struggled, both of you and I have struggled through the duration of this entire program with the Disney live action remakes. We don't like them. We don't really get the point of them. This one in particular feels bizarre because Moana is still very much a part of the consciousness. We just saw a sequel last year. Kids rewatch these movies all the time. But more specifically, like, there's not even that sense of like recreating an ancient magic that you might get in a Beauty and the Beast. Or even in a Lion King. The Lion King was the most recent, largest gap between original film and new film. I think it was 25 years. We're not talking about 10 years gone by.
Right.
The other thing is that Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson is reprising his role as Maui in this movie, but he's not to be seen. At least his face is not to be seen in this teaser. Does that indicate anything to you?
I mean, it's been a rough 6 weeks. At the box office and in movie world for Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson?
Yes.
I don't know. This is a teaser, as you said.
All right.
I don't know. What is your daughter's relationship to Maui?
She thinks he's funny.
Okay. But she's watching it for Moana.
100%.
So they're making this for the daughters of the world, not for people who are going to be like, hey, The Rock is in the new live action Moana as The Rock.
I think Moana tends to bridge the gap between the young male and young female audience.
Right, but young as opposed to parents who are like, oh, hey, it's The Rock.
Yeah, the songs, though, the songs are good.
Okay.
Like, really good.
Let's go. Let's hear it.
I could do Where I'll Go from start to finish, which I think is a masterpiece.
Okay, what is that song about? What is it expressing?
It's about the yearning and desire to break free from home.
Sure.
To find your own path, to be a wayfinder,
so
the way that Moana becomes a wayfinder.
It's part of your world.
It is absolutely in the tradition of Ariel's journey. I think that's part of why it's one of the good Disney films. I don't
updating some of our concerns about Ariel's priorities.
Yeah, Moana's not driven by a man. She's in part driven by a demigod.
Or by things.
That's true. She's not covetous.
She's not materialist.
She is, but Celine's song probably does like The Little Mermaid.
Sure.
And probably Moana. If she's into Zootopia, one imagines. Zootopia 2, I don't have it on the schedule.
Okay.
What are we going to do about that? It's going to be like the third biggest movie of the year.
I'll take Knox to see it.
In what condition would we discuss it? Because I'm looking at the schedule. It's like, wow, we got to have a Jay Kelly conversation.
Right.
We're going to talk about sentimental value. At what point does Zootopia 2 figure in? Any thoughts?
I mean, you don't want to do a double header? You don't want to do half Jay Kelly, half Zootopia 2?
I guess we could do that.
Speak to the two halves of ourselves, inside me there are two wolves.
I guess so. I guess that's something that we can do. Speaking of, I don't know if there are wolves at war with this announcement, but this morning we learned that Focus is going to be releasing.
We means you. I've known about this.
Oh, you knew this was going to happen? Okay, I didn't know about this.
Yeah.
So there's going to be
We've also talked about it on this podcast.
No recollection of that.
That's fine. You don't remember anything that I say. That's okay. You know every single label that has released every single of the 10,000 Blu-rays that you own, but you don't remember actual recorded conversations that we have together about things that are interesting to me.
I don't. What do you think that says? What do you think that indicates?
I am not surprised to learn it, but now the rest of the audience has it confirmed.
Okay, to put this out there will be a new version, a new adaptation of Sense and Sensibility coming next year from Focus that is going to be directed by Georgia Oakley with a script from Diana Reed, starring Daisy Edgar-Jones. It's officially dated for next September.
Mm-hmm.
It's 30 years later after your beloved 1995 classic.
That's true, which I would like to note that is being re-released in the theaters in December, a limited re-release for its 30th anniversary. I'm excited. I will be there.
Is this a good idea to readapt this?
So the thing about Jane Austen adaptations is that they are plentiful. You know, this is it. They have made a million Pride and Prejudices and also spin-offs of Pride and Prejudice. Pride and Prejudice set here. You know, the Bridget Jones' Diary is an update of Pride and Prejudice. Clueless is a update of Emma. Like they are both used like as the actual text and also inspiration. So you can't say like, oh, Sense and Sensibility is sacred and you can like never remake it. There is also, I believe, a TV show of Sense and Sensibility. Yeah,
apparently there's a 2008 version, which I'm not familiar with.
Yeah, exactly. Like they keep on doing this. So you just have to pick the versions that mean something to you and stay true to those.
It does feel less picked over than some of the others.
I mean, I think it's a weirder story. And also the 1995 Ang Lee version, written by Emma Thompson, starring Emma Thompson and Kate Winslet and Hugh Grant and the late Alan Rickman and Hugh Laurie, and the list goes on, is an absolute classic. Like it is very, very hard to live up to. And, you know, the Pride and Prejudice is the holy, most referenced of the Jane Austen texts. And for a long time, its most celebrated or most famous adaptation was a TV show. So that when Joe Wright came in to make a movie, there was something that was slightly different about the format. This is a film to film thing, which I think is, you know, playing with dice, you know, a little trickier, but it's fine. What are you going to do?
So just reading this, I would have thought, I saw Georgia Oakley's previous film, Blue Jean, from 2022, which is an interesting movie. And I would have thought that the version that they would have pursued might have been a modern update or a retelling. I was watching Hedda this morning, Nia DaCosta's adaptation of Hedda Gabler, which is like a reinterpretation of that.
It is 9:58 a.m. right now. So what time did you start Hedda?
7:30.
Okay.
When my family went out of the house.
Wow.
Yeah. I'm about this life.
No, I know, but I just like, I mean, that's fascinating. Good on you.
I'm doing the work.
Okay.
This is what we have to do.
I mean, I
was making a list
do the work, but I'm just like sitting there with a hairdryer at 7:30 in the morning trying to get ready for this shit. You know,
this all comes naturally.
Sure.
This level of beauty. My point being that I would have thought that this film would have been a kind of a reimagining like Hedda.
Right.
Which is an interesting movie and we can talk about it down the road. Just looking at set photos, it does look like it is holding to traditional period.
Yeah.
And that's interesting, I guess. It makes the comparisons more stark, more specific because we already have a film that is from this period in which the book is written.
But this happens. They've made Little Women every 30 years since movies started. So my issue is that the wonderful Katrina Balfe is playing Mrs. Dashwood, which is just a real like, we are all old together. That
How old is Mrs. Dashwood supposed to be?
She's old enough to be a widow and to have two daughters of quote unquote marriageable age. Obviously, they scaled everything down back then, but I don't know. She's at least mid 40s.
Katrina Balfe is less than 3 years older than me.
Right, but it's tough for all of us. It's
Katrina
just
Balfe.
more like we're the parents now. You
Smoking.
know?
Wow. Ireland represent.
Let me tell you, Belfast, an incredible movie about how hot she and Jamie Dornan are. I've never seen anything like it.
I suspect we'll talk about this movie a lot more when it comes out.
Yeah, will you go see the 1995 version?
I watched it for this podcast.
I know, and then your take was like, I don't really get like why women are so stressed. That was what you came
refrain
with.
On this show.
Yeah, all right.
No, I liked it. I did like it.
Whatever.
I remember. Did I not like it?
No, you did. Mostly.
I think I was a little more down on the English patient in our movie swaps.
That's true. Yeah.
Sense and Sensibility I liked a lot. Ang Lee, one of my faves.
It's very beautiful. Will you read the published journals that Emma Thompson kept during the filming of Sense and Sensibility? They're wonderful.
Okay, maybe I will.
Okay.
How long is it?
It's not that long.
Okay.
It's out of print. I was thinking last night as I went to sleep, like that I should get it out and read it again. It's a comfort read for me when things are a little stressful.
You know, I talked to...
So after I find it, I'll give it to you.
Please do. I love a journal during a production.
Yeah.
You know?
It's very cool. Okay. And she's talking about like, you know, they're making adaptations. She's throughout the production process because she's a screenwriter, but she's also in it. And it's wonderful.
Sounds great. When I was speaking to Linklater and Hawke, we got into a conversation about reading and just like how it's harder to read now than it used to be for not just young people, but older people as well. And it's interesting because this is a pair of movies that are not about reading per se, but do feel not just from a different era, but from like a different time in film sensibility. You know what I mean when I say that?
They are for sure. And they are both period pieces about making art almost 50 or more than 50 years ago. And about two forms of art that definitely feel of a time, of a throwback, if you will, in a musical or just kind of like standards for musical theater and the films of the French New Wave.
Let's talk about the later of the two, which is a film that was made more than 65 years ago.
Yeah.
Jean-Luc Godard's Breathless, which is the framework for Nouvelle Vague. So this new movie is written by Holly Gent and Vincent Palmo, the same duo, I believe, that wrote Me and Orson Welles, which is sort of the last time that Linklater went back into a period of examining a great artist making something in this very specific, somewhat true way. The film stars Guillaume Marbeck, Zoe Deutsch, Aubrey Dulin, Bruno Dreyfus, a handful of others. It's, as I said, it's an attempt to recreate, if not totally to the truth, at least the essence of what it was like to be in Paris in the late 50s as this cohort of film critics turned filmmakers started achieving great success. And this film focuses very, very narrowly on Godard, right on the verge of making and then ultimately filming Breathless.
It has a day-by-day breakdown of what is going on in Breathless and is, titled like day 4, day 20. You know that there are 20 days of shooting. So it's, we'll start with Nouvelle Vague, but I do think that these are a very interesting pair because they are both about the creation of art and they are about an artist at a certain phase of career. And Nouvelle Vague is the really ambitious young guy starting out, has a dream, trying to make something happen, uncompromising, sort of ridiculous, sort of endearing. We can talk about whether this movie likes Godard as we talk about the film. And then Blue Moon is about an artist who has achieved something and who is at the end of his career and is having a hard time letting go. So I really do think that they bring out the best in each other. I think Blue Moon is more successul on its own. But what I liked about Nouvelle Vague was because I had just seen Blue Moon a couple weeks ago, and I was like, oh, so you worked with Blue Moon. Linklater works with a longtime collaborator in Ethan Hawke, and it is an end of life movie, and very sad and very affecting. And this, in a lot of ways, is Linklater going back. I mean, it's going back to the beginning of a career, but also going back to the beginning of his career. I was thinking a lot about the walk and talks through Paris in Before Sunset. This is filmed in Paris. It looks beautiful and is about someone very exacting and pretty delusional and definitely annoying. And a bunch of people being annoyed with him and also not quite being able to keep up. I think that it's made with a lot of empathy for everyone involved in a really nice way. Like it's kind of a loving, nostalgic portrait of a bunch of kids who kind of knew what they were doing, but also definitely didn't know what they were doing at all. I think all the stuff around it, especially at the beginning, and I guess at the end, though I wish there had been more about the editing room, personally, which is an incredible thing to say about a film. And it is more compelling than just the recreation of a day-to-day. We have Breathless.
Notably, this film does not show us a single frame of Breathless. It shows us lots of the making of this kind of breakneck, but also moving at a snail's pace trip through Paris with primarily with these two actors. It's a really strange movie. I watched it a second time, and I'm glad that I did because I watched it in the reverse order that you did. I saw Nouvelle Vague first. Nouvelle Vague premiered at Cannes. Blue Moon premiered at Berlin. And so both of these movies have been in the world for some time, but they're only just now getting seen by wider audiences. Nouvelle Vague, the first time around, felt a little bit like what I'll call name some guys cinema, which is a thing that baseball fans talk about when they, as you've seen Chris and I just saying men's names from who played third base in 1996.
For this, or no,
You know.
it's always the early 80s Cincinnati Reds.
Yes. And there's something very sweet about Linklater, who is a massive cinephile and started the Austin Film Society and has seen everything and, loves the New Wave, has been talking about the New Wave for years and years. And him just getting the chance in this very specific period way where he's shooting on Kodak film in black and white, the aspect ratio, even the way that the subtitles are written on the screen. It feels like you're watching a movie from 1959 or 1960. That's very comforting. It's very fun. It's very fun to cast an actor to play Jean-Pierre Melville. It's very fun to cast all these young actors to play Chabrol and, to play Truffaut and all the familiar faces from that period in time. It felt like a little stunty to me, I think, because Breathless is already such a well-chronicled film. There's so much scholarship, those journals that you were talking about that Emma Thompson wrote. There's a lot of journals. Godard was kind of breathlessly tracking every step that he took across these films. That's something that the critics from Cahiers du Cinema were really good at. They were really good at materializing their ideas about movies and not just about what's in a movie, but how to make a movie, how to sell a movie, what an audience thinks a movie should be and what we think a movie should be.
And the film does communicate a lot of that. And when you're in the Cahiers du Cinema office or when you get to go to the film with them and then have them shit talking it afterwards, that stuff is very charming and fun.
That stuff is my favorite stuff in the movie because it felt the most like Everybody Wants Some, but for the New Wave.
Yeah.
Where it's just like friends hanging out, shooting the shit, kicking ideas around, making fun of each other.
Right.
There's nobody in the world who's better at that than Richard Linklater.
Yeah.
He is the master of that kind of a hangout movie. The actual making of the film stuff I thought was kind of interesting only insofar as how much tension can Zoe Deutsch bring to the film as Jean Seberg.
Right.
And whether or not you believe that she actually was really struggling during the production of it and mad at him all the time, which is very reasonable.
Yeah.
His producer is also mad at him. He's working in this very difficult way where he's waiting for inspiration to strike. He's trying to follow Roberto Rossellini's, philosophical digressions about the way to do things.
That's a great scene of driving along in the
I
car.
love that
and
scene.
It's wonderful.
Everything that is like that, everything that is like Chris Sabo played third base for the Reds, that stuff is so good.
And everything that involves poor Zoe Deutsch having to speak fluent French in her American Jean Seberg accent. I was like, I can't. And I know what this is like. And I know that Jean Seberg did not have a perfect French accent in the film Breathless.
Yeah.
But let's be real, everybody. There's only so much. Well, it's not anybody's fault.
Yeah.
It's just the structure of the movie of having to have everyone. It's implausible and grating.
Yeah, she looks like her though.
Totally.
The pixie haircut and the styling of the film, the production design of this movie is pretty amazing.
Oh no, it looks beautiful, and that's another thing where it was just very, comforting and charming.
It definitely has charm
to be wandering around for a while, and that they go to Cannes, and there's a conversation had while someone's doing a pinup Cannes photo shoot. I was like, all of this, the vibe is very good. It's just once you're recreating Breathless. I mean, Breathless is currently available to stream on HBO Max.
Yes.
Which I did go do.
Yeah, I didn't do that. It's funny. So I rewatched it last night with Eileen. I'm sure Eileen and I watched Breathless 25 years ago, but I haven't seen it in a very long time. And I was just trying to situate her in what this movie was.
Right.
And what it was attempting to do. And it's a little hard about halfway through to be like, so what are we really worried about here? If you accept it as a hang, I think it works really well.
Yeah.
If you're looking for something that is sort of driving in some way, it's not that kind of a movie.
Yeah.
Most Linklater movies are not really like that. I do think though that it's very consistent, and Godard's point of view on making this movie is very consistent with what Linklater's interested in, his ethic. It's work with your friends, trust your gut, acknowledge tradition, but try to break your own path. All of these things, I just feel like they're things that resonate deep inside of him. You mentioned something interesting though, which is does this film like Godard?
I think that it has empathy and and recognizes what's going on. You know, the Godard and the Linklater, the filmmaker is obviously the stand-in for the other filmmaker, but there was some knowing, lovingness about the way that this person is young and idealistic and like preposterous but impassioned and believes in what he's doing, that I think Linklater's rooting for him. I think the film is,
doubt.
yeah, of
No
course,
doubt.
which like, how could you not? But it's also like, you know, what an idiot sitting there being like, no, we're done for the day after 2 hours.
Which is seemingly not the way that Linklater would work either, and has learned how to survive within independent filmmaking for a long time. I think he obviously has a tremendous amount of respect for him. I thought this when I first saw the movie, and then Linklater confirmed it too, that he was like, I'm really more of a Truffaut guy.
Yeah.
And the humanism of Truffaut just seems much more in step with what Linklater's usually after.
Yeah.
You know, Godard is this very kind of like dogmatic, almost ideological, hard-edged figure in the history of cinema. And
I mean, he has that great scene where they're fighting about the continuity of the cup, which I did think was very funny. And he's just yelling. I mean, like, but what is real? Like, the reality would be that I can't recreate it. It's in French, but it's very funny.
It is very funny.
It is, and it gets to, you understand that Linklater relates more to a different style of filmmaking, but he is. It's a funny idea, and also just a funny portrait of what it means to be like a young, idealistic artist setting out, which I do think that Linklater has a lot of affection for.
He definitely does. A staggering resemblance across the cast.
Yeah.
Guillaume Marbeck.
It's true.
Just looks just like Godard. I mean, you know, I think anybody who has that kind of like widow's peak hairstyle and is slim and can wear shades, you could pull it off to some extent, but he really captures what we imagine at least the energy of him to be at that time. And that helps the movie a lot. A lot of the other historical figures, even if we don't really know what those people were like, it feels very close. And that goes a long way. You know, what was it that Linklater, he cited a recent example of trying to find someone in a movie that looked like the person that they were representing. And he was really appreciative of the work that was done there. I want to say it was in Justin Chang's piece about Linklater that was in the New Yorker a few weeks back. But the attention to detail is what makes this movie, I would say, more or less successful. It's an interesting experiment.
I mean, and the production design and I was sitting there being like, okay, so clearly they were in Paris, but like, how did they do this? This is amazing, you know, which it's worth seeing.
Definitely worth seeing. Fun movie. I'm not quite sure internationally how it's being distributed. I know in France it's playing in movie theaters. I think it's only in the US on Netflix. Okay. But definitely fun and worth seeing.
Yeah.
Let's talk about Blue Moon now.
Yeah.
So this movie is written by Robert Kaplow, who is the author of the book Me and Orson Welles was based on, but he did not write that screenplay, but he did write this. This is his first screenplay. He's also,
did you learn this related? Do you remember The Watcher?
I did. I read this, yes.
He's involved in, so The Watcher was a Reeves Wiedemann New York Magazine story from 5-10 years ago. But
adapted into a Netflix miniseries.
Yes, which Kaplow was involved in because he was not actually the Watcher or living in the house that was part of the Watcher, but he lived in the same town and was also doing some watching of his own or something. It's fascinating stuff.
At first, some thought he might have been the Watcher, but then he was not the Watcher.
Yeah, but I checked that out.
Interesting life for Robert Kaplow. This movie that he's written is quite fascinating. It sounds like it was written many years ago, maybe more than 10 years ago, and that Hawke and Linklater have been circling it for a long time. It's been more than 10 years since Hawke and Linklater made a movie together. They've made 9 movies together. They're one of the great cinematic partnerships, certainly of our lifetime. And this movie is set in 1943. It is about Lorenz Hart, the lyricist, who is confronting shattered self-confidence in a bar. It's an all-in-one night movie for the most part, as his former collaborator, Richard Rodgers, is getting set to arrive at Sardi's, the legendary New York City theater bar, after the opening night of Oklahoma.
Exclamation point.
Yes, which is his first piece working with Oscar Hammerstein, the composer who would then go on to create one of the most successful duos in the history of musical theater. Prior to this, Rodgers and Hart were a tremendously successful duo.
Yeah.
who made musical theater. And
wrote some of the great songs and standards of the early 20th century in America, including Blue Moon and also My Funny Valentine, which is referenced in Nouvelle Vague.
That's right. Yeah. That's right. I forgot about that. So Linklater was, for years, apparently a huge fan of Ella Sing's Rodgers and Hart, which is an Ella Fitzgerald album that features 20 of those standards performed by her. And this is, I'll just say, one of my favorite movies of the year. I think this is just a tremendously beautiful and sad movie, and kind of the inverse of Nouvelle Vague, where Nouvelle Vague on its surface you would think would be tough and difficult, and underneath the surface is actually a very warm and kind of sweet movie about friendship and about success and about pursuing something that you believe in and achieving it. And this movie is the opposite. It's a movie that on the surface you have this smiling Ethan Hawke who's got his head shaved and has got a comb over and has been shrunk down to 5 feet and is very sweet and charming and charismatic, but right underneath the surface, within the first 5 minutes,
embittered and wistful, and just like life is not even slipping away, but like has slipped away.
Yes.
And you can watch that reveal itself in real time over the course of the night.
Desperate and unloved is how I would describe this version of Hart. And I think it's like one of the best things Hawke has done in years, and very out of his traditional range. And also, it's just a great all-in-one place movie. And it's hard to make an all-in-one place movie entertaining and interesting. And the way that this movie is shot and blocked is unfussy, unshowy. It's not trying to do too much with the fact that it has limitations. But I was like just tremendously emotionally engaged in this movie. What did you think about Blue Moon?
Oh, I loved it. I mean, any movie that starts with the characters quoting Casablanca to each other, no one ever loved me that much. I mean, it's and it uses this is a movie that loves movies and, like, you know, old Hollywood as much as we do, and it's very much built into the text and to the script, which I think is very good. In some ways, it is like, you know, a play but a movie, but I mean that in the best possible sense, where it is really focused on it. It is like tightly written. It has ideas. It's focused on the performances. People show up for kind of 1 or 2 scene arias, and it makes the most of what it has, and is, you know, just a very, I agree, very sad movie about being really old and not being able to,
but not that old. To your point about Katrina Balfe, I believe Hart was 46
I mean, again,
years old.
That's why we're also like, oh God, you know, life is coming for us. This film does the thing that you normally don't like, which
shows you something at the beginning.
Yeah,
I didn't love that either.
Okay, even though I do find that choice sets the tone, because I honestly don't know what. Before this film, I didn't know about the life story of Lawrence Hart, you know, and I don't know his outcome. I mean, I know what happens with Oklahoma. Just incredible theater criticism of Oklahoma throughout this movie. It's really, really funny. But so I know that Rodgers and Hammerstein go on to great fame, but I didn't know the pretty sudden tragedy that happens after this film, and so knowing that does help you interpret the film in a different way, because it's all sort of a lost cause, you know, and there's like, he keeps talking about, so Andrew Scott plays
Richard Rodgers.
Thank you. Sorry. And they keep talking about how they're going to revive an old play with 5 more songs. And and that's presented.
A Connecticut Yankee. Yeah.
The Hart character is like, I'll be back in it. This will be my big break. And I think we all know, because of the way the film opens, that like, even if that does happen, it doesn't matter. This is not going to be the beginning of another career. So I think functionally I understood the decision.
That's interesting. It's the only thing that I really took issue with in the movie. I also did not know much about the life of Hart. I was happy to not know much about it. I think the movie does that very interesting thing where it allows the character to kind of talk through their own personal history in a way that felt mostly naturalistic in the setting. It didn't feel like forced exposition.
No.
And I think if you remove that opening sequence where we see him fall in the rain.
Yeah.
For someone who didn't know about the person's life, it would have felt more dramatic. It would have felt, and the sort of revelations about the aftermath of this opening night of Oklahoma, I think would have felt stronger, more powerful. It would have been a little bit more tear in my throat than it ultimately
I guess
is.
so, but it's not. The movie is not a melodrama, it's like an elegiac. There is something, you're watching this guy and it's like it's over before it started.
Yeah.
And that is what the film and the character is about. And he is the only character who has not quite made peace with that.
Mm-hmm.
But to understand what's going on with him, I do kind of think you need to know the contours to get the full. I don't know. It worked for me.
Setting that aside, the other thing that I think this movie shares in common with Nouvelle Vague is that, to use a word that you used to describe Godard, both of these movies are about delusional men. Like men who are just like convincing themselves that what they're going to do and how everything is going to work out.
Yeah.
And in one case, someone is incredibly successful. In another case, someone fails miserably. But that there is something too about I think a sensitivity to artists, people trying things, which is just a really vulnerable, strange thing. Like you and I get in front of a camera and we talk at each other and it's fine and it's vulnerable, but not like when you're like, here's something I have poured my soul into that means the world to me. And Hart in particular, a writer who was sort of moving out of fashion in the mid 40s in terms of the style of comedy lyricism that he was gifted at. And also like a sense of how the world was changing. This is like amidst World War II. And there's a kind of optimism in Oklahoma that is completely absent from most of what Hart pursues. He can write a romantic song, but it's usually a little bit more pointed and cultural. And, Rogers originally went to Hart to write Oklahoma and he turned him down. And then Rogers turning to Hammerstein leads to this
Oklahoma, Carousel, South Pacific, The King and I, and The Sound of Music.
Yeah. I mean, I think that's the most successful collaboration in the history of musical theater, probably.
Yes, absolutely. But, those are all pretty sappy. When I say that as
I'm not a huge fan.
World's number one Sound of Music fan over here, but,
I can't pretend to be an expert on the shows of Rogers and Hart because they're actually just so out of fashion that they're not produced as often as the Rogers and Hammerstein stuff, which I've seen most of, and most of I just don't think is that great to me. But people love them, and Hart being a known genius who's washed up is as tragic as it comes. Just like the way that Hawke embodies this incredible sense of sadness without having lost his wit and his intelligence and his kind of nascent, annoying charm.
Right. There's a charisma.
Yeah.
That is kind of like flickering in real time, and the bitterness and the alcoholism and the delusion break throughout the course of the film. But every once in a while, he just steers it back to something just completely effervescent and amazing. And you're like, oh, this is who this person was.
Yes.
And just cannot get back there. And life won't let him get back there.
Another thing that this movie shares with Nouvelle Vague is that there are a handful of famous figures who crop up in the story. These are significantly more invented than what you might see in Nouvelle Vague. For example, at Sardi's on this night, sitting at a table by himself, writing in his journal, is E.B. White.
Yeah.
E.B. White, seemingly at the doorstep of writing Charlotte's Web.
And Stuart Little, because they literally, of course, he gets inspiration for Stuart's name and how to spell it from Hart.
I don't think that's actually how that happened.
I don't either, but it is written into the script of the film. They reference it,
I really like that little jag where E.B. White comes in as kind of like the gentle, observant conscience of creativity for a short period of time. And then there's like a fairly amusing, but also a little silly introduction of a very young, presumably Stephen Sondheim, who is neighbors with Oscar Hammerstein and who, joins him at the premiere of Oklahoma and has seen every musical theater performance and has some withering takes for the work of Lorenz Hart.
Right, yeah.
And it's just a funny like nudge in the ribs of any musical theater fan, because Sondheim obviously would go on to kind of take on the mantle of the greatest living musical theater writer. I mean, probably immediately after Rogers and Hammerstein.
I guess so.
This movie this doesn't usually always work for me when an actor is like, I'm doing a biopic or I'm recreating a figure, I'm transforming.
Yeah.
I'm hair and makeup, We're going to use trenches to make me seem smaller than I actually am. And Ethan Hawke, he never does this. He never wears makeup.
It's very naturalistic.
He almost always embodies a version of himself. It might be in the year 2300, like in Gattaca, but he still looks like Ethan Hawke.
Yeah.
And I thought this was a fascinating choice. This is also a small, low-budget movie made, I think, in 15 days, which would have been pretty challenging. And I think it's like among the best things he's ever done.
He's wonderful in it. And I think I want to talk about the Margaret Qualley character, who is, for lack of a better term, the love interest, though how that works out is in keeping with how things work out in the rest of the film and is kind of another dimension to, I don't know whether it's delusion or denial or self-hate. But it is very funny to see Ethan Hawke not getting the girl mode or not even close to getting the girl.
This. Yeah. I asked him specifically, like, I can't think of a single time where you played the guy who cannot get the girl.
Yeah.
And the level of self-hate, that's the other word that I use, this self-loathing that Hart has. Hart was believed to have been a closeted gay man, but he proposed to multiple women and wanted to be seen as a
man about town.
Yes, exactly. And maybe even like a conqueror in some ways, and was constantly falling short of that. And in the film, Margaret Qualley plays a young woman named Elizabeth Weiland, who is a Yale student, who's an aspiring musical theater composer and wants to be in this world. And she befriends Hart, and they have this kind of confidant relationship that he feels romantic feelings for her, or at least says that he does. And she is sort of leads him on in part so he can introduce her to some people, but she also seems to have affection for him, but certainly not in the way he keeps asking for. I think there's an extended sequence of them alone in an office that runs a little long for me.
Yeah.
I think Margaret Qualley is well cast. I think this is like actually
best use of her.
A good use of her. Like, and what her kind of wide-eyed beauty represents, and her ability to sort of like be one step ahead, but the audience thinks she's one step behind for most of the sequence. So I liked that part. Okay. It's just kind of the final nail in the coffin, almost literally, of Hart's ego and his sense of self-worth.
Right. And also the idea of himself versus the reality of the world that he's living in.
Do you think many successful people feel this way? Have this intense sense of regret, longing, failure?
When it runs out, yes.
How do you know if it's run out?
I mean, I think he knows
I'm just asking for a friend. Yeah, this is a very sensitive portrayal of somebody who is losing it.
Yeah.
And I really like it. Hawke, well, let's talk about Linklater really quickly.
Okay.
So he's 65 years old. He does not seem it. His hair is brown.
Yeah.
You know, he's in good shape. Still seems like an athlete. He's in the midst of this production of Merrily We Roll Along.
Right. How many years has it been now?
I think it's been less than 10. So I think he's about a third of the way through.
Okay.
Maybe a little more than that. And the plan is to film until 2040.
Okay.
Now he's doing this with Paul Mescal, Beanie Feldstein, and is it Ben Platt?
That sounds right.
I think it's Ben Platt. And
so he'll be 80.
So he'll be 80 at the conclusion of this production.
It is Ben Platt.
So that is, he's obviously done this before with Boyhood, these kind of durational projects over time. I think Justin Chang also pointed out that this is sort of his version again of what Truffaut did with Antoine Donnell, like this idea of like tracking the same character and the same actor over a long period of time. But in this case, he's doing it in standalone movies.
Yeah.
Which is just one of his ultimate fascinating time-based innovations. But just in the last few years, he's been very productive. He made the rotoscope animated film Apollo 10.5 a few years ago for Netflix. And then Hitman last year for Netflix. And then now Nouvelle Vague and Blue Moon in the same year. Very vital at this stage of his career. He's made over 20 movies.
Good for him.
He's fucking killing it.
He loves to make movies.
What are you going to be doing at 65?
I don't know. I'm reading a very grim book about the future right now.
What's the book?
It's the new Ian McEwan novel.
Oh, yeah. You've been anticipating
It's wonderful. It's
Okay.
really, really good. I'm almost done, but it's not optimistic about what any of us will be doing at 65.
What's the name of the book?
It's called What We Can Know by Ian McEwan.
I see. So that'll be 22 years from now for me.
Mm-hmm.
So 22 years will be 2047.
Okay.
My daughter will be 26. Oh, that's fine. I can be dead by then.
Okay.
That's fine. I got to get to 21 for my daughter. That's the most important thing.
Her age.
Yeah.
You need to get,
Yeah.
and then good luck, Alice.
Well, I don't want to die, but if I die, it'll be okay.
Okay.
I won't fight it, you know?
That's good.
I will fight it. I'll fight it tooth and nail. Don't pull the plug on me, as George Carlin once said.
Okay. I mean, I hope you have other arrangements for that written in your will.
No, you're the first call. When I'm on my deathbed, you are the first call because I trust you to be unsparing. Before we go to Hawke and Linklater, I want to talk about Hawke quickly.
Yeah.
So I hope he gets nominated for Best Actor. I genuinely hope. It's an extremely competitive year.
Yeah. And this is well, listen, Sony Pictures Classic has done it before.
No doubt. They're amazing at this.
Never forget the wife.
Yeah, well, I have forgotten it, but I know what you're saying. Let's very quickly go through Best Actor before sharing our favorite Hawke stuff, okay? So at the moment...
Wow, look at this glamour shot we changed to him. Looking great. I mean, he's always looked great.
You know, he's also on The Lowdown on FX,
Yeah.
which I haven't started watching yet, but I intend to watch over the Thanksgiving break. Along with Andor, I'm going to set movies aside for a week.
Wow.
Watch some television.
Okay.
So
I'm going to be on an airplane with 2 children under 4. So,
yeah, a blue moon of your own. Good luck to you. I'm so excited for that week because I'm not going anywhere. So at the moment, Variety has, here's the top 10 for Best Actor in reverse order from 10 to 1. Clooney for Jay Kelly, Plemons for Begonia, Dwayne Johnson for The Smashing Machine, Brendan Fraser for The Rental Family. I still haven't seen that.
Nor have I.
Jeremy Allen White for Springsteen.
I can't believe we're still doing this.
Michael B. Jordan for Sinners. Wagner Moura for The Secret Agent. Timothy Chalamet for Marty Supreme.
Yes.
Leonardo DiCaprio for One Battle After Another. And in
Yes.
the number 1 position, Ethan Hawke for Blue Moon.
Who has this?
Clayton Davis at Variety.
Okay. Well,
This was published on September 26th.
Okay. I take issue with some of that ranking. I would love for that for Ethan Hawke. I don't think that he is in pole position. Is that the correct usage of the term pole position?
It certainly is.
Thanks so
Sounds
much.
like you've seen F1. Let me
I
tell
was
you.
actually going to ask what sport it's from. So good.
As a counterpoint, on October 23rd, Awards Watch said that Ethan Hawke was in 11th place behind Will Arnett, Dwayne Johnson, Jesse Plemons, Jeremy Allen White, Joel Edgerton. I don't think that's right either.
Yeah.
This is almost 3 weeks ago now, too.
I mean,
on
I
Awards
think
Watch.
Michael B. Jordan, yes. Leonardo DiCaprio, yes. Wagner Moura, yes. Still haven't seen that film, but
Great
I'm looking
movie.
forward to
I
it.
got to figure out how to talk about that
I know.
movie.
I'm very excited, but I just, who is the 4th guarantee that I'm forgetting right now?
Leo.
No, I already said Leo.
Leo, Wagner Moura,
Moura,
Michael B.,
B.,
and Timothy Chalamet.
Oh, and Chalamet, of course, yeah. Wow,
Gold Derby currently has him at 5th, so that's a little bit in the middle between the two.
I think that's probably right. And that's what I'll hope for.
Okay.
I think that would be an awesome 5. That would be close to what I think are the 5 best actor performances of the year, and that doesn't usually happen. But this is a really, really competitive year. I think some of the lower, I think Brendan Fraser and Daniel Day-Lewis and Russell Crowe for Nuremberg, those are not really. I haven't seen that yet.
Okay, me
That's
either.
also going to be part of the Hedda episode where we talk about 10 movies that we didn't talk about.
Okay, so Hedda, Nuremberg. What about what's it called? The choir, the chorale?
The Choral.
The choral.
Yeah.
I just the trailers before my Blue Moon screening were just like an incredible 1998.
Yeah, the SPC rundown.
Sony Pictures Classic throwback situation.
I like those.
You know?
Have you seen Surratt?
No, but don't tell me anything. Tell
all
me
right, all
nothing.
right.
I'm going.
What about Kiss of the Spider Woman?
No, with
haven't seen
respect
that
to
either.
Jennifer Lopez.
I will see it.
Yeah.
We haven't talked about Ballad of a Small Player.
I know that's just on Netflix. Gotta see that.
It is.
Yeah.
Threw that on last night.
So,
what did you put on last night?
I threw on Ballad of a Small Player. Completely forgot it was out.
Okay.
It's not very good.
It's a disappointment.
The Lost Boss.
The Lost Bus
Oh, The Lost Bus.
with Matthew McConaughey.
Oh, right.
These are all in theory.
Yeah, we're gonna listen. We're gonna get there.
We're gonna get there. Hawke. Let's see. We can do this fairly quickly.
Yeah.
We match on what?
I
one movie?
did that. Well,
2 movies.
Yes, and I matched at number 4 so we could be cute with our lists.
What do you think makes him a good actor?
There is I don't know. He's just so cool, honestly. Like there are like a bunch of different things that I was trying to describe. But like, well, he's very like, he's, very calm and like he sits back, but also really emotionally open. There's like a physicality to him. I don't know. I mean, I saw him in Reality Bites when I was like 11 and I was like, that's it. That's what's going to haunt me for the next 35 years of my life.
Yeah. I know what you mean. I think he has changed a lot as a performer over the years. I do think that he was really puppy dog as a kid and in one of your picks.
Sure. Yeah.
And had this kind of like G. Willikers kind of anxiousness to him as a performer. And then he really like almost does the exact opposite in his 20s where he pulls back way back.
Right.
And he's cooler than cool, when he's in, is it Hamlet? The modern adaptation of Hamlet. In Reality Bites, of course, like in a lot of those 90s performances. And then in the 2000s, I feel like he goes back the other way. He goes back to this, like, he has a kind of jitteriness to him, like in Training Day, where you can, right on the surface, you can feel this is a person who's having a hard time. And he's nothing is settled.
Yeah.
And being able to toggle between those two energies is very cool.
I mean, I do kind of think, like, for us, it's just an emotional register over time and, an up and down that I recognize, of being like fairly earnest in your teens. And then what I thought was cool was also what he was trying to be. I have just kind of watched him go through the phases of life about 5 years ahead of myself feel about them the same way that I do.
That's exactly what he's somebody that it's very easy to map your own experiences onto because he's made a bunch of movies about going through those experiences. Exactly. And obviously the Before trilogy is signature in that, but a lot of his movies are like that. So he's a special guy. Yeah. He's a special actor and
one of the great podcast guests. So I'm very excited to hear
He's just an awesome talker, he's read a lot and seen a lot and he loves music and he's just into figuring it out and is very eloquent in conveying how he feels. So hopefully people will enjoy that conversation. Before we get to it, do your 5 and I'll do my 5.
I put Dead Poets at 5, which is just how I remember probably the first time I saw him. And also that openness that I do think characterizes all of his work except for the 20s when he's trying to be an asshole. I put Blue Moon at 4 because you also have Blue Moon at 4.
I do have
and
Blue Moon at 4.
it's extraordinary. And him trying something different, which is cool. Boyhood at 3. Boyhood, not my favorite Linklater, but it is as much a study of, it is a study of Ethan Hawke over time. And what they're doing together. And
I've not seen divorced dad energy represented so clearly.
And what Hawke is doing, like in terms of vulnerability and like openness and also anger. It's the full gamut of what he can do over time. It is that like career that we've been talking about.
Him picking up Eller Coltrane at the house in his muscle car is like gives me sad chills.
Yeah. 2 is Reality Bites.
I've seen
forever.
It. Yeah, great film.
And then number 1, Before Sunset.
Yeah, I know. You go by.
I know.
My number 5 is Training Day, which is he's been very good over the years at toggling between mainstream Hollywood movies and projects that light him up that are a little smaller. He obviously also loves the theater. Training Day is like the perfect fusion of the two disciplines that he is interested in, where it's like, it's a big time Hollywood crime movie opposite Denzel, but they both get to do really interesting work as actors in it. And I would argue that we would not think about that Denzel performance in the same way if he was opposite a lesser actor.
For sure.
Because I think that movie is like pretty well written, but not really that well written. And it's like pretty well directed, but not that well directed. But you're there for those two guys exploding and some other actors on the periphery as well, but those two guys specifically bouncing off of each other. I also had Blue Moon at 4. I agree with everything that you said. I have Before the Devil Knows You're Dead at 3.
Good one.
The Lumet crime movie. Ethan mentioned Philip Seymour Hoffman during our conversation. They're magic opposite each other as two very different but very similar brothers. Before Sunset is number 2 for me. Number 1 is First Reformed.
Sure. It's First Reformed season.
Boy, it sure is. Although Pope Leo, the 14th.
Pope Leo.
I mean, he's coming through for cinema.
Sure. It's beautiful. Yeah.
What if I went back to the church?
We'll talk about that. If there's another movie where we can talk about
why
it.
Why
later.
not now? What if I rejoined the church because Leo hosted a great number of filmmakers at the Vatican?
Yeah.
Greta Gerwig was there.
Yeah.
You know, Spike Lee was there.
I appreciate all that he's doing.
The Pope?
Yeah. For
he
cinema,
says
I
you
guess.
should go to the movie theater to see films. You know who else says that?
You.
Yeah.
And me too.
Yeah. Should I be the next Pope?
Yeah. I think you do a really good job.
I think I've earned it.
You have the outfit already from our Oscar show. So that's good.
And Conclave taught me how all that stuff works. So I'll be really good at winning that race. But First Reformed, Paul Schrader also came up when I was talking with Ethan. Man, that movie, I should have fought for 25 for 25. That movie fucked me up. I love that movie. And that movie is also so on the money about how everything feels right now.
Yeah.
So on the money. And Ethan Hawke, again, is at the center of it as a desperate person who's lost hope and can do that just as well as he can do Loren's Heart. So he's a wonderful actor. Any closing thoughts?
I'm excited to hear you talk to the two of them.
Okay. Let's go to my conversation with Ethan Hawke and Richard Linklater. Richard Linklater and Ethan Hawke back on the show, here to talk about Blue Moon. Guys, it's been 12 years since you made a film together. I was stunned to learn that when I was reading up on your long-term collaboration. Was there anything that came up in the interim? 10
since Boyhood.
Well, 14. That came out in 14.
Did it? Yeah. Okay.
Yeah, but we shot this in 24. So
so
there was a 10-year gap.
10-year gap
of us
We're both
rolling
right.
camera.
Was there?
We were in a horrible fight.
Yeah.
Sometimes
we didn't speak for what, 9?
Yeah, he has these temper tantrums, and then he comes and he apologizes.
And Ethan falls off the wagon, and it's a real thing. I just have to. At some point, you have to.
It's a cut-off thing.
So this is an art reflecting life situation.
Yeah.
Were there any other things that you were thinking about doing in that time? Like, why the break?
God, I hope so. 10 years, we better have thought of something to do.
Yeah, we're always throwing around things. No, this was Blue Moon was in the works before.
He gave me the script to Blue Moon before we finished Boyhood.
Probably like in 2012.
No kidding.
Am I close enough to the microphone?
Yeah.
Sounds good.
Okay.
This was something been kind of rolling around in our heads for a long time. And we would get together in New York, usually because Robert he's in the area, Ethan's there, I would be there. And we'd just kind of do a table read and talk about it more and just kind of was working with Robert over the years on the script.
In fact, I was so impressed with Robert's patience with our methodology, because we really enjoy doing readings, talking about it, thinking about it, because you never get a second chance. It's not like a painting where you can do one version of it and then a year later try it again. It's like we're going to have one shot to make it right. And so we took our sweet
like
time.
We were building up to something. And it's such a minimal. When we shot it in 15 days, it's a no-budget movie, all that stuff. And yet we treated it over these years as some kind of really thing that we would just have to perfect, and it would be hard to do.
How did you know it was the right time to do it?
I knew because he said so.
How did you know?
Ethan tells these jokes about when we first started as like, well, you're too young. You're too tall. It took Ethan all those years to lose the height, actually. About an inch a year. Yeah, we finally got there.
Yeah.
It's funny, though, because you were 10 years ago around the right age for Loren's Heart, but maybe you weren't ready to look the way that he looked at that time in his life?
Well, 54 is 47 back then or whatever.
Yeah, definitely. There was some, that's a very simplistic way of looking at it. We also knew that the thing about a movie like this is the bullseye is extremely small. And if you don't hit it if you don't penetrate the exact bullseye, this movie's not really even a movie. It has to, for it to ring the bell, for it to vibrate and sound right. We knew it had to be just right. And so we would do these readings, and Robert, it's never like we did a reading and thought, okay, it's ready to go. We would thought, oh, this is a great idea. What is it? And then Robert would have some ideas, and he would go back, and Rick and we would all talk. But there was no time pressure. So it'd be like 6 months later, Robert would send a new draft, and we wouldn't read it aloud again until we were all in the same city again.
Which might be a year and a half.
There goes another year. And then we would do it, and the same conversation would take place. And certain missteps would happen, and
scenes came and went.
yeah.
You know, we were breaking. We were just kind of. It was getting more minimal.
And the last reading we did was really fantastic. We were at my house, and I remember it was over, and everybody left, and we both kind of were like, "Wow,
we're ready.
This is the time."
It was great. I felt okay. I'm ready to go in rehearsals,
Mhm.
and like we're shooting in a month.
Yeah.
That would be. I think we're ready to get. We were that close.
And in the meantime, I had gotten a lot older, and also strangely felt more ready to try a lot of the parts that I've done in my life are variations on something you might call close to my own identity. And this was a farther push out. But I really felt I loved Larry, and I felt like I'd grown up with people like Larry my whole life in the theater. This movie is intimate with those men.
Yeah.
And so I really, really wanted to do it badly. And I really believed that we could do it and do it well. Now I feel after so many years of it's like a to-do list in your brain that you have. And Blue Moon was always there. We've got to make that. We've got to make that. I can't believe we've checked that one off.
I still, with Margaret last night, I was like, oh, wow. It's a couple years ago. We were sitting there with her. We got all of when we went to Cast Elizabeth, I was like, God, I wonder if Margaret Qualley would do. And sure enough, she met with us, really liked the part, totally got it. Years ago, we said, well, we got to get Cannavale to play.
When we were first talking about it, we're like, who should be the bartender? It's Bobby. Bobby would be amazing.
And then, but, actors' availability and all that, we just got lucky. Everybody was, and then Andrew Scott came aboard. That was the crucial piece, the last piece.
Are there like 10 or 12 other projects like this for both of you guys where you're like, we're checking boxes. We have things that we know we want to do.
10 or 12's a lot, but there's certainly a bunch. Yeah.
Interesting.
Because sometimes the universe isn't,
it's never on your time schedule. That's for sure.
A project like this, we need the right partners, to come through to help finance it. Nobody's doing this movie because they think they're going to make a quick fortune. They have to kind of believe in it.
Mm-hmm.
And we have several projects like that. Unfortunately, none of our projects seem to have their finger on the pulse of what America really wants to be watching. But we've had some that have never gotten made and some that might still.
Since you guys hadn't been on set together in a long time, had either of you changed in any way? Was there anything that was different about actually making a movie 10 years later?
I wouldn't say either of us had changed in any way that affected anything. It's just the demands of this particular film required us to be different. It was a different vibe.
I want to hear about that.
The challenge was such that, well, I knew it even in the readings we were doing. I was like, I'd look at Ethan reading it a little as Ethan. I was like, he doesn't know what he's in for. This is all going to go away. He would put an emphasis on something. And then, so I knew this day was coming when we had to sit down and like really get into this. And I was like, okay.
And that was very difficult.
Yeah. It was like, this all has to go away. That's a masculine, confident Ethan gesture from a guy who's 6 feet tall and, used to get laid a lot. See, Larry has none of that.
And I can feel that now. That was the biggest difference in the 10 years that went by. But it actually, he's not lying. I didn't realize that, and Rick did. But this is it's a weird razor's edge to walk when we all love the idea of long-term collaborations, but it's very hard not to get sick of your friends. It's very hard not to tire them. And sometimes it's very hard to be honest with your friends, because it feels like things are at stake. It's not just a movie. Like Rick and I can't go make Blue Moon. I can't let him down or disappoint him or have a fight with him and walk away from the movie. I'd be walking away from a 30-year collaboration. It's bigger than one job. And Rick was really giving me the opportunity to be the actor that he knew as a young person I dreamed of being. He knows who my heroes are. He knows the kind of work that I find significant and important. And he was giving me that opportunity. but it wasn't going to happen just by showing up. All the things that people like to talk about, whether you're talking about movies where people gain weight or lose weight, or joking about the height or hair, shaving the head, or, gestures, voice, all that stuff is meaningless if it doesn't unlock something true and something with soul to it. All those details are things that will ruin the movie if we don't get it right, but they won't actually give the movie the heart and soul to make it worth your time to watch. So this one had so many things we had to work on to, like, on the Before trilogy, for example, I'm being asked to play a certain position on a team. And this movie was like, I was in the same team, but I was playing a different position than I'm normally asked to play, if that makes sense.
Can you give me the literal position change that you made so that we can even deepen this metaphor? Like, were you moving from quarterback to tailback? Were you moving from tailback to right
quarterback
tackle?
to water boy? In the masculine, in the tough guy.
Yeah. I mean,
But
there's
a very colorful water boy.
a really charming water boy. I think the better analogy might be a band, and I used to play rhythm guitar, and now I'm being asked to play the violin. It's like we're like, and the band leader's the same. So a lot of when you're on a Linklater set, I think it would. If you think about your older friends, have they changed? I venture to say most of us not that much.
It might be imperceptible. They may have, but you can't see it.
Our sense of humor is the same. We're still making each other laugh with jokes that happened, that are citing things that happened 30 years ago, and I still laugh. And we still find the same. I know when I'm reading something, whether Rick will like it or not, I'll come across, we know, the other day, I was like, I had this really kind of crisis moment in my brain, something that was really profoundly depressing me. And I went for a walk, and I just imagined talking to Rick, and I felt a lot better. I didn't actually need to talk to him. I knew exactly, I'd say this, and he'd say, well, why are you going that direction? And I'm like, oh yeah, he's right. Yeah.
It's funny you say that, though. So Glenn Powell was on one of our shows last week, and on the show, he said, he was paying you a compliment, and he said, Rick was the hardest director on me in terms of performance. He was the person who was the most direct about what I was doing and whether it was working or not. And that some artists are a little bit uncomfortable giving that feedback that you're talking about. Do you think it's even more harsh with Ethan? And how do you even communicate that?
Well, it was on this time. I try to give specific directions when it comes to performance. I think that's the best you can do, not just like, oh, go again and do better. Yeah. It's like, no,
playable notes.
Yeah,
something
like,
that is actually
we rehearsed this. We worked on it for a long time. We knew what we were going for, but this was just different, and we knew what arena we were stepping into. Mm-hmm. This was just going to be much more rigorous. And I think, had we not had each other's back for 30 years and the other films, we had a trust. I saw my friend working to his absolute limit. And, this is built around his ability to deliver what the film had to. Ethan has to peel off these 7-page monologues. We have 15 days to shoot the movie. I knew we could do that. We had done versions of that before. But then this physical thing, it was a deductive process. Ethan had to disappear, so that was the naggy. I was a naggy, like, Ethan, you did that thing again. Like, it would have been, I think, because we had this communication shorthand, it helped that. It was less confrontational, but it was exhausting, kind of. It really was. But we loved it. It was a joy. We were so happy to have the opportunity to finally make this film. But within that, it's like, holy crap, this is, but we knew that's what we were heading into. But at the end, it was like, oh, we did it.
The thing that Rick's talking about, which is really, really, truly remarkable, I think, is that it wouldn't be an honor and it wouldn't be fun if we didn't do our absolute best. And so he has to be discerning with somebody that he knows really well. He's also spent 30 years of me complaining about directors, right? And soon as I know you don't like this, but if I don't say this right now, we cannot return to this moment. This is not as good as it needs to be. And I have to be humble enough to hear it and not lose my confidence. And right. that's it. And one of the things that I think what Glenn is talking about perhaps is that because Rick's an athlete, Rick can be extremely direct without being malicious. Sometimes you sense in directors or producers a desire to be crass, to pee on your shoulders or something, just to have dominance. And that creates an atmosphere of competitiveness, aggression. Rick, you genuinely feel he wants you to excel. And he doesn't like being mean or critical. So I would have to do this. I remember when I was directing Maya, I had to explain, listen, obviously I want to say great job.
Yeah. I have every incentive in the world.
That is what I want to say.
But
I can't yet. So I'm not being mean. I'm not telling you you're doing something wrong. I'm telling you it can be better. And it's not as good as I know it needs to be before we're done today. And so there's that, but that doesn't mean it wasn't. But I do think it's so important. I remember this, it popped in my brain about, he's standing on a beach somewhere and they're asking John Lennon before he died, like, would you ever play with Paul McCartney again? And he says, play what? It's like, I definitely would.
Yeah.
Like but it's what? And it's not we can be friends every day of the year. What do we want to make together? And we wanted to make this together. Well, it has to be the best movie he can see. And we have to actually work. That's what I felt what John was saying was like, I call him John.
Yeah,
you're
your buddy.
Yeah. But I think I always liked that answer because you could see in the answer that if there was a cool idea, he would jump on it. But it wasn't just to be together. The point can't be that we're together. Then you're making Cannonball Run 5.
Yeah, well.
Which is a great film. We would watch your version of Cannonball 5. I think I understand why you wanted to do this and why you loved Larry, but why did you want to tell this story?
Well, those same reasons. I love Lorenz Hart. I've been a big fan all these years, since my 20s when I discovered his music, I would say. And when Robert told me he was writing a story about him, because I knew a little bit about his life, kind of the, a little bit of the tragedy and Rogers moved on and he was a beloved character. If you ask anyone, okay, Rogers, Hart or Hammerstein, almost everyone says Hart because the lyrics, I think.
Musicians, yeah.
Yeah. But the shows, you got to go with Hammerstein. Those are still performed. It's a different era, different time, but there's something endearing about Hart. And so just his life and what I read in the script is something that we never isn't expressed much or talked about in artistic world, circles, but it's kind of that an artist would have an expiration date that you could be left behind, not only by your collaborators, but by the times. It kind of lingers in your mind. It's something kind of sad and poignant about like an athlete's career comes to an end just biologically. No ballerina or gymnast or even ball player thinks they're going to be playing at 60 or 50 or, but every artist thinks, I love this. I'm going to do this forever. And in certain arts, particularly performing arts, film, theater, it can sort of be taken away from you. They can just not fund you. You can fall out of vogue. You need that support. So when I first read what Robert sent me, I said, oh, this is like this sad little howl into the night by an artist being left behind.
He said that to me the first time on the phone we were talking about it.
It's a funny, witty, but it was kind of like, oh, that's such an interesting for a movie to be about. A guy who's kind of at the end. He even says it in the movie in different ways. It's like,
forgotten but not gone.
Yeah, that was my tagline. Yeah, so I don't know. I just loved it. It was a portrait of art. And that time, it's such a fascinating little moment in musical theater history. I love that period. I love all the music. So it's hard to say what makes you want to make a movie, but it definitely got into me, this character. And also the utter challenge on how to make it work. Can this even be a movie? One room, is that a movie? Most would say no. And people did say no for a long time, but we got it made. So it's a little cinematic challenge, but really a storytelling, it's hard to say what makes you want to tell a particular story.
I have some questions about the how you did it, the single location idea. But before that, it definitely does feel like a second half of your life movie, you know, and I feel like it will resonate more deeply with people who are like, am I at the end of this, or is the end coming closer? And obviously the film sets that up too for Hart's
the
life.
film itself is a final act.
Yes.
But
Larry Hart didn't make the transition into the second half of his life. You know, I see that with some of my friends. You know, you have to keep growing and you have to keep changing and adapting and maintain your curiosity and maintain your health and these things that require a certain vigilance to weather the vicissitudes of life. You know, and Larry didn't make that turn. And I do think that that's haunting to people like us who dream of doing this at 80. And my brain is, since I was young, my brain is, why is Stoppard so great in his 80s? Why is Dylan still making relevant music? What happened to so many? Why did they lose? Why did this filmmaker, why is first 3 movies amazing? What is it? Is it them? Is it their instrument? Or is it the times losing interest? And my brain is fascinated by that.
Or it's the old personal demons. We're watching an alcoholic kind of put himself on the bench. You know,
that's for sure.
Let's not forget that.
Yeah.
So a lot of the people you go, what happened? It's like, oh, you know, they didn't help themselves.
Do you have any fears about the time running out or not being able to do all the things that you want to do?
I don't. Illogically so.
Do you?
Well,
I definitely feel like I'm motivated to just keep doing what I'm doing. But
one of the other things is that you don't give the responsibility of your own creativity to anybody else.
Right.
Meaning the industry could very well just totally dismiss both of us at the.
I feel like it has. That's not.
But it wouldn't
issue.
stop you from making things. It would never. I mean, I remember. Somebody said that about Paul Schrader. If you put him in jail, he'd come out with a movie.
He would write it. He would have
and that's the way I feel about Rick. It's like that's not gonna. You don't even need the world to care. You're going to do it. And I always feel if you left me alone, I would do something. I don't put that much weight on people's responses to the work. I love, obviously I love a compliment. I love it. And I live for it, but it's not my main motivator.
I mean, that really defines our 30 plus year collaboration. It's like we both are excited. You know, we always have stories we're trying to tell, characters we love. We're exchanging ideas. Some things become a potential movie, others don't. But and we're just always kind of sailing forward.
I did an interview the other day with somebody who was a lot younger than you and I are, and he said, must have been so hard for the fans of Before Sunrise to wait 9 years for the next one. I was like, there weren't any.
Fans? Wait, no one wanted a sequel.
The only people that wanted that sequel were you and I and Julie.
And Martin Schaefer.
Yeah.
Maybe
exactly.
There was about 5 people on the planet Earth.
He couldn't quite register then why was there a sequel? Because we really like ourselves.
Yeah. No, that was our tagline, the least successful film to ever spawn a sequel.
Proved to be a smart move, though, in retrospect. The other movie that I was thinking about is Tape, and the idea of a single location and a smaller cast, and that's it's been a long time since that movie, and the challenge of that movie too. I was thinking about the challenge of this movie.
To your question about how have we changed? Not much.
Yeah,
we
one
found
room, no problem. Real time, let's do it.
This film was a lot more challenging. It's period. The verbiage, the ideas at play, but we learned a tremendous amount on Tape that I think was really valuable for this movie.
Yeah, not that we did that for any other reason than to do that movie, but years later, it's like, oh, this is kind of our bigger version of that. It's good to have gone through that too, because that from a production standpoint is completely reliant on the actors being able to, because we shot that in 6 days. We shot this in a whopping 15 days. So it's completely reliant on the actors being able to just kind of us be able to shoot for 7 minutes straight. And, I have 2 cameras and that's just kind of the technical, we can't be fumbling around, figuring out what we're doing. We have to shoot all day. And I have to get long stretches of dialogue. And we can do as many takes as we need, but it has to start off pretty close to perfect.
But your desire, interest, and curiosity to rehearse, meaning some directors really get bored without a camera in their hand. They just, but Rick can work for a long time before he picks up the camera and work. And that's what makes doing 7-minute, 11-minute, 14-minute, 17-minute takes possible, because we've talked about and worked on the nuances of the performance, the ins and outs of where the pauses are, where the rests are, when it needs to speed up, when it needs to slow down. It's like, what's so thrilling about it as an actor is you're a part of the filmmaking process, because he's not, and your relationship with Sandra, his editor, is amazing and they do amazing work together, but we're invited into that process of like, he would like to edit the movie based on what the best cut is, not to edit around your performance, you know, like.
Yeah. I never feel like I'm constructing it in post or we're putting anything together. It has to work on the day. It's always self-evident right in front of us. So, and I just enjoy that collaboration too, because you find everything. I can't imagine making a movie where you just start. Plus, I'm nervous with the crew standing around while we create and while we
feels
really,
indulgent. I know.
Yeah, like we have to talk intimately about every little thing, and you find so much. You know, even it's amazing what on the page doesn't really. It works on the page, and then in the room, it just doesn't work because it's not real. You know, we're all looking at each other like, oh, we're doing, this is a big opening night party. What's missing? It's like, oh, all the interruptions.
Yeah.
It wasn't really in the script. All the people, hey, Dick, great show. You know, you can't talk 45 seconds to someone at your own opening before
You never can. And
someone else. And like, that wasn't even in there at all. Like, yeah, what's not working? So we kind of.
And that reminded me of like one of my favorite things about Philip Seymour Hoffman is he would often stop in rehearsal and go, why is this fake?
Yeah, what's wrong
What
here?
is it? Is it the line? Is it the is it?
But the first thing you have to realize what's not.
It's just it's like he could smell something doesn't smell right. Is it the way I'm sitting? Is it the costume? Is it the set? Should we be standing? Should we be further apart? Or is it the dialogue? Is it you know? Am I not in the right emotional space? And that's where good things happen, when you sniff that out and then get rid of it.
I wanted to ask you something about your performance. So a lot of, it seems like Hart's point of view, artistry is born of this like self-hatred or this sense of his own maybe ugliness. And, you know, you have to transform physically in the film. But I suspect that maybe you don't have the same relationship to your own appearance. You've been a star for a long time. And that's a very difficult place to get to mentally, of like that level of,
there's
that self-hatred,
there's
you know,
a self-loathing for your own body because, well, no one's ever noticed, no one's ever wanted you. That was we talked about that. Like,
there's a
you
great,
don't understand. Like, no one has ever wanted to be with you,
right?
For your body, you have this incredible wit, mind, and people love you in a certain way,
but not that way.
Yeah, yeah. So that's a huge leap.
One of the things we laughed about was, and this was the real challenge for me, is. There's a great story Mike Nichols would tell about Redford really wanted to be in The Graduate. You remember this story?
Right. Yeah.
And Redford called him up and said, look, I really like the script. And Mike said, well, I love your work. But let me ask you a question. You know that feeling when like you meet a girl and you ask for her number and she doesn't want to give it to you? And Redford goes, what do you mean? and he goes, that's exactly why I can't cast you.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
But I'm at a place in my life where one of the things that acting has taught me is that our experiences in life are not nearly as unique as we think they are, and that we have the capability to understand each other, and our powers of empathy are very strong, and that I do not know what it's like to have rejection every day. I know what rejection feels like, and I can imagine what that would be like. Like I've been punched in the face. I haven't been punched in the face 90 times in the same day. Larry Hart has, but I can have empathy for that, and I can embody that. And that is part of the wonderful part of my job, is putting on other people's clothes, looking through another keyhole at life. And the powers our imaginative powers are so powerful. And if things in a film, when Bobby's treating me a certain way and Margaret's treating me a certain way and the dialogue is right and there's the yeast starts to rise and there's this thing that starts to happen that can have the stuff of magic to it where you really can. I really felt for him. And I definitely understand the feeling of being misunderstood and trying to express yourself and being rejected and to try to pour that into the performance and make that real. I don't know. I just really wanted to do it. And
yeah, anybody, any artists, actors in particular, I think finding a connection with someone that's never the problem. I think we're all got our antennas out there, and in this case, a little rejection. Who hasn't been rejected? And a little bit of that goes a long way. and so you look to someone and it's like, oh, their whole life. You know, we all grow up with people, or we see someone who have certain things about them that you're just like, oh, wow, what would that be like? An artist goes through the whole life going, what would that be like? Oh my God, that's a whole nother world. That's a whole nother thing. And it was fun to see you once you were 5 feet tall looking up at everybody. You're like, holy crap. It's a different world. When you're looking up at the world and you're not.
And the world is so heightest. It's amazing.
Yeah. I mean, I could just see it come over him. It was like, oh yeah.
Try to not let that get in the way. I'm curious, Rick, for you this year, 2 films set in the past, 2 films about artists. You know, you've done things like this before. You mentioned Robert wrote the book that me and Orson Welles is based on. You've been in these worlds before, but what does that indicate to you about where you're at in your life, that these are the things that are so compelling to you?
Well, these were 2 long-standing, long-gestating projects that they just happened to come. I shot them back to back and they kind of came out near the same time. But it were just 2 stories I really wanted to tell, 2 places in history I really wanted to drop back in on. And I think I've done that a number of times, not only in a nonfiction way, but even in the fictional worlds I've created, like even if it's a college or high school comedy I'm doing the same thing. I'm dropping a camera back into a moment in time saying, this is what it was like. And it's fun to do that if that moment in time is my own life, but it's even more fun to drop it in to a moment that before I was born and imagining, oh, what it must have felt like. Like, to me, that's really magical and fun, the kind of creative, constructive element of that, to put that together historically. And so, yeah. And with Nouvelle Vague, just the filmmaking aspect of that, the cinephile heaven that represented to me. So that was fun. I mean, these films are clearly in some kind of conversation with each other. Blue Moon's the end of a artistic career. Nouvelle Vague's the beginning of one. But portraits of two amazing 20th century artists, that's for sure. So I don't know. I
want to ask you a big open-ended question about this, okay?
Sure.
Yeah.
So I was thinking about this idea that you're suggesting, which is that Blue Moon's about the end of something, Nouvelle Vague's about the beginning of something. I think among a lot of film fans, there's a concern that we're at the end of something. That or maybe something already ended and not everyone knows.
Guess what the great news about that is? If they're right, every departure is an arrival. So no sooner does something end than invariably something else has to begin.
Yeah.
I feel really strongly that something, I feel this, and maybe it's just my nature, but with the ways in which things are moving right now, it's like, oh, you know what's about to happen? Things are about to get really exciting. I think with this thing about, I see a lot of I have a lot of young people in my life, and I see them getting absolutely sick of manipulated images, of stupidity, they're getting tired of short attention span theater. It's not like we're going to rebel from a lot of what's happening. I think politically, emotionally, artistically, we all operate in a interconnective community way. It was funny. I got to see, there was Scorsese produced a documentary. He was giving a talk back, and he was talking about the early period of his career and how he just thought, oh God, everybody's overusing the word masterpiece. Every damn movie's a masterpiece. And he's like, It was. He was like, I was living through this amazing 10
looking
years.
back, a lot of masterpieces.
Like, oh, wow, yeah, Bergman, Godard, Hal Ashby. He's like, actually, these
Your friends, your godfathers,
these were phenomenal films. And that happens because a collective thing is happening, and not just with the artistic community, with the audiences. The audiences have to care about David Bowie. They have to think that's cool. They have to be interested in John Cage. They have to be interested in Frank Zappa. They have to be interested in Miles Davis. They have to be like, and that makes the money people want to make more of it. And there's this, so we operate together, and I do feel there more and more as we kind of get depleted. And I think what you're talking about is kind of an exhale. But the good news about that is there's about to be a giant inhale. And I do feel it coming. I feel it politically too.
Do you feel that?
Yeah, I mean, I just know film history. Let's just talk about film, because I think that was is it over? Do films matter in the culture and all that stuff? And we've always been under existential threat. If you really look at the last 70 years, there's threats. And I think whenever technology and art and commerce intertwine, there's a lot of jobs threatened. There's a lot of challenges always. So it has our little amygdalas going all the time. It was like TV. Oh, that's the end of that. That's the end of that. Oh, video is going to kill, so it's always been that. But, there's a bigger threat in the world, and it could be the thing that interrupts what you're talking about, the audience and the thing and what people want. We have an adversary now that is coming after our attention and consciousness in a way that hasn't before. So I think that's the great interrupter. That's what it's up to each individual to kind of stifle that, silence that. Yeah, you got to save yourself. You got to admit you're addicted. We just need a group session. No, you have to put that down. You have to. But I'm seeing it a lot. I'm my film society in Austin. I saw these young people. Just when you thought, oh, they grew up watching, YouTube and TikTok, and audiences full at the theater of young people in their 20s, really discovering movies, the history movies, current movies, out in the lobby, talking about them, having a drink with friends, community. So each individual has to kind of save themselves by participating in community and humanity and art and giving a shit and just realizing, oh, that's a fun life. Wherever you fall in the spectrum of art or just appreciator of art or consumer, it's more fun to be engaged with art and other people. And, so that's how you save your own soul. But there is an opposition. There is an enemy out there who wants something else from you.
If I can, I'll risk telling a personal story. I hope you don't mind, which is that was one of the best things that happened to me this year. Is we were at the Telluride Film Festival, and we went on a long hike with my kids, and my two daughters were working Rick over in front of the walk, complaining that their mother and father were trying to limit their screen time and asking, that they thought it would be better that they learned control over their own screen. It's not that they thought that I should just have unlimited screen time, but they thought we need to be able to monitor ourselves. We need permission to do this. And Rick said, well, that's an interesting point, but the real goal, I'm paraphrasing, but you said something like this, which is to be your own best friend. And that phone is getting in the way of you being your own best friend. Because if you're your own best friend, then your best friend's always with you. And this algorithm and this thing is this giant distraction.
Yeah, to follow your own instincts.
Your own instincts.
That book led to that movie, led to that
what you're
book.
thinking about. Yeah. And you were telling Clementine about passing through that space of boredom that feels uncomfortable. It's this liminal space of what the world calls boredom. And when you come through it, hours can disappear, and it's your own mind. It's your own mind that leads you to these beautiful thoughts and beautiful things. And now you're in control of where your mind is going, not an algorithm that's trying to sell you something, right? And then when you're through that space, there's your best friend right over there. Just pass through that doorway. It takes but a second, And it really had a big impact on them. And and I think that's the true adversary.
Yeah, that used to be the thing, finding yourself. That was the cliche for the last several generations.
Our parents
the
always talk
hippies were
about
like,
it.
I'm going to find myself. Well, you're not going to find yourself today. That's not that you're going to find yourself, being delivered to advertisers.
Yeah.
That's always been the thing. It used to be via TV and radio. Now it's this thing that's attached to you. So it's more time to be more vigilant than ever. But that always needs to be in the air.
I have one more layer for that question. So one thing I found maybe 10 years ago when we would have a conversation like this, we would point it at your kids, my kid, younger generations having this problem.
Mm-hmm.
I always think of you as one of the great daydreamer filmmakers. I can see you in a room
Yeah.
coming up with an idea, just sitting there quietly. But I find that I am more distracted than ever.
Oh,
I don't know
yeah,
if
for
you're
sure.
more
Oh,
distracted.
definitely.
Like I'm finding
No.
it harder to
Oh, no.
just sit there quietly.
I'm enjoying this conversation as further ammunition to give me the energy.
Yeah.
I was among my friends. I was one of the last to give in to a cell phone, or like people
know.
would text me, and I would be like, "Why? What are you even doing?"
Yeah, I'm never going to send a text.
Yeah.
I'm never going to go. I'm never going to do that.
Yeah, I remember saying to a friend, I said, "I know cell phones are catching on in LA. That's never going to fly in New York."
Yeah.
I was like, what was I talking about? And I feel
Yeah.
one of
No,
the
it's
great
real.
joys of people talk, like the amount of verbiage I had to learn for Blue Moon, for example, and it was one of the things I remember most about the summer was the fact that I didn't look at my phone hardly at all because I had too much work to do.
Yeah. You
But
couldn't.
the space in my memory it occupies now of just being in my dressing room. I would roll the set, make some texts in the car, going over there, set the phone down, change, leave it in there, and I wouldn't pick it up till we wrapped.
Right,
And on
yeah.
your drive home, I'd look at it. But the day actually felt so much more expansive without looking at it. You don't realize how it's contracting your brain. And I know it's boring. We're all thinking the same thing.
Yeah.
But I think we do need to give each other like permission to rebel.
Yeah, but no, you feel it. Do I have the patience like I used to lay around and read all day? It's
Mhm.
like, no, what's this little thing in me that's kind of jumpy, a little irritated, no, I'm going to get up and I'm going to check the news feed.
That's the number one thing I'm struggling with at
it's
this
like,
stage. Is like I would roll through 50 books a year, and now if it's 10,
I
it's
know,
shocking,
I know.
and that's just
I'm
a
like-
huge change.
huge.
Well, it's
huge.
really, really impacting society. I mean, when you think about, even a literary star. We haven't had a literary star like we used to have. Because literature is not the way that we're communicating, and that's a huge loss. I just read Marilyn Robinson's Housekeeping. It's an old book the other day, and I was like, it felt to read literary fiction again.
Yeah.
It literally felt like, oh
yeah.
well, there you are. There's my true, because she
Yeah.
was speaking to me in a way that made my soul feel like it mattered, that my experiences are part of a collective experience that actually is significant. And what I think about a rainstorm and what I think about my daughter and what I think about actually has some substantive value. And I was like, all right, nobody's talking to me in this way.
Right.
There's great paragraphs I'd have to read 3 times. And the third time I read it, I was like, oh, I'm so glad I read it the third time. It was worth it.
Yeah.
The power of the
Yeah.
language, the power of the ideas were not easily understood. And they were better because of it.
Right.
Yeah.
And
that was the delivery system. It was novels, it was poetry, it was films, it was, the interrupter there. If you're going to get all paranoid, big picture, it's like, if they can, the way you go after institutions, if you can go after all the art forms and make them just not that relevant, you got a whole nother population here to
that's a
manipulate.
depressing
So
thought.
we all have to stick up for our art forms and give them that kind of, that space. They're still there.
Yeah,
they are writing the novels.
Oh, yeah.
People are making the movies.
It's true.
and writing the poetry. It's up to everyone to elevate.
Yeah,
You know?
it's for me personally, it's a little nuanced because what you're describing requires not just focus but consideration, and that's the consideration is that's why I like doing this show.
Well, that's the
hard thing to do.
invitation. It's an invitation for you. That's what I feel like. What I like about when I feel like a movie is made well or a book is made well, it's an invitation for you, the audience, to join us in this conversation. It's not telling you what to think. It's the audience is a part of that. I felt that way when I was a kid watching One Flew Over the Cuckoo's Nest or something. It's not telling me when the chief is running into the woods and those drums are playing and there's the broken window with the sink that's through it, and I'm looking at that going, what does this mean? It doesn't. It's not clear. Like, wait, it's better than clear. It's the great it's the mystery. Things without mystery have no power. Mystery is the reality. We do not know why we're born and why we have to die. We are living inside immense mystery, and this illusion is that you have some control or power, or that you like things that invite mystery are off. They're giving you a chance to consider it yourself. The artist isn't right or wrong. It's what do you think? And now we're in dialogue together. And that's what made those movies or those albums or those books, things that you could revisit.
Yeah. But, new waves are always in opposition to the status quo, the mainstream. Our particular mainstream of this era, as we talked about great novels and stuff, you realize, well, those novels used to be on talk shows. They used to be part of the culture. That's a producer or an editor. People are making those choices. Like, it's a great book. It's the book of the year. It's the best book I've read. But our audience doesn't, they don't occupy the spot on the talk show at night. But let's give that to some 21-year-old who has 1 million followers who did this thing.
Right.
Because that's going to get the eyeballs. So, it's just straight up money. But that's something to rebel against for sure. Because you have to admit the mainstream is overall pretty weak.
Yeah. Ironically, one of my hobbies is watching those interviews on Dick Cavett on YouTube, though. But in the space YouTube, where you're being assaulted at all times with other things to look at.
Yeah, but it's there as a record, a historical record. Yeah. Look who's on the Dick Cavett show that night. And you have 3 different people like, oh my God, what a lineup. Yeah. And that's what the world they wanted to converse and hear from them.
Right.
It's one of the great things about like when I was making The Last Movie Stars, that documentary about Paul Newman and Joan, is I got to watch all those old talk shows and see the other people before and after and see how meandering they were and how intelligent they were. And it was
just the position they had in the culture was exciting. Like who has that now? Even room for public intellectuals and
what do you mean? You guys are here right now. We're doing it. We're doing the work.
Yeah. People like that.
We're here and we're grateful to be here.
You got to flip it. Yeah. It is this, the podcast era is kind of, that is that now. That's where people get together and talk. So,
Thanks for contributing to this.
Got to be grateful for that. No, things we lament what's not there, but what is here.
Yeah. Right. This is here.
There's a whole new thing. You just have to, you can't
you're absolutely right. Like, oftentimes we don't see what's good. I think I called you but I listened to Ken Burns, who's got this Revolution documentary coming out. I listened to him on Joe Rogan for 2.5 hours. It was brilliant.
Yeah.
It was as good as anything we're mourning. It was amazing, staggeringly intelligent
there's never been a medium that gave people that space to talk.
So there is
30 minutes on Dick Cavett is one thing, but even radio shows back then they were commercial programs.
It was 90 seconds.
Yeah, you were on to talk about your book for 5 minutes or something, but it was not the space and time to talk. So
everything's terrible. Everything's great.
I know.
As always.
I know. It's
always the thing.
We end every episode of this show by asking filmmakers what's the last great thing they have seen. Doesn't have to be on YouTube, obviously. If you guys seen anything good that you like. You were in Telluride? You were in Telluride?
Yeah.
Well, the last thing I have to say, this is going to be kind of annoying, but I did just watch Wim Wenders' American Friend.
Oh my God.
And I have to say, it's like that photography is unbelievable.
Yeah. Was it Robbie Mueller?
Yeah.
That was.
Yeah.
I personally wish I was really good friends with them and I could have done a second draft of the script. It was like some plot holes.
He's not interested in the details of her story.
Dennis Hopper and those images, I was like, wow. And it's not flashy photography.
Yeah.
It's just stunning. Absolutely stunning.
That's a great pick. I love that movie.
Yeah, this is a big question because I have modern stuff and then
anything you like.
I think, I watched Story of Adele H recently. The Truffaut film.
Yeah.
And I hadn't seen that lately. And it was just as beautiful. And
I talked to Noah Baumbach yesterday and he recommended a Truffaut film as well.
Yeah.
It's a small change. That's funny.
Oh yeah, Truffaut never goes away.
Never goes away.
He's the guy, for forever. And then current, like everybody, one battle after another. Things like that. Got to give it up.
Yeah, I had this has been happening for many years, but my hat is so off to DiCaprio.
Yeah,
who
holy shit,
he's just such a leader in my profession, and it's just been staggering to watch. Just really inventive, thrilling work. You can like one, love one, dislike one, but they're always worth your time. They're always bold. They're always daring.
He and Paul together in this is just amazing,
just fantastic.
Yeah.
And I also thought Emma Stone, Begonia. I was like, wow, who is this woman? She just keeps being great, and it's nonstop. And so. Hats off to
but there's so much. There's always, I never rag on. Every year is a good year for film. Worldwide, there's always a lot of films, more than most people have time to even watch, that are always great.
Blue Moon is great too. Thank you both for being here.
Thanks,
appreciate it. Congrats on the film.
Talking with you.
Thank you to Ethan Hawke and Richard Linklater. Thank you to our producer, Jack Sanders, for his work on this episode. Later this week, what do we have, Amanda?
Number 4 from 25 for 25, which we recorded several weeks ago at the Egyptian Theater, or at least a week ago. And as of this recording, has not been leaked that I know of.
Nor I. Why do you think that is?
Because we built a society of trust.
Do you think that the listeners are afraid of you?
I don't think that I led with fear. I think I led with inspiration. I invoked Beyonce and I invoked mutual respect. And I gave people an opportunity for their clout photo. And then you gave them some letterbox how to. So, we're creating a safe space.
I think the pick is good, and I hope people enjoy it. We'll see you then.